All right, so get ready, because today we are going to explore something pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's your own kidneys.
Cool.
We're going deep today, deep diving into how these incredible organs actually work.
Okay.
And we're going to be using insights from a medical textbook excerpt.
This is a little dry.
You might think kidneys are kind of boring, but trust me, once you understand what they do, you're going to be blown away.
Okay, I'm ready.
Did you know that your kidneys filter about 180 liters of fluid every single day?
Wow, that's
That's like filtering an entire bathtub.
I had no idea. That's a lot.
It really is.
Yeah, most people really don't think much about their kidneys, until something goes wrong.
Right.
But they're absolutely essential, vital, really, for keeping our bodies running, smoothly, keeping everything in check.
Absolutely. So let's break down why they're so important. What are the key things that our kidneys do for us?
So you can think of them kind of like your body's filtration and recycling plant.
Oh.
They're constantly working to purify your blood, so they filter out waste products
Okay.
from your blood, like urea, which is generated when your body breaks down protein.
Okay.
If those wastes were to build up, you would start feeling really sick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Pretty quickly, too.
So it's not just filtering waste, right?
Right, it's not just filtering waste. They're really multi-talented, these organs.
Okay.
They regulate your blood pressure, which is super important for long-term cardiovascular health.
Right.
And they balance electrolytes like sodium and potassium, which we all need for nerve and muscle function.
So they really are behind the scenes, these unsung heroes keeping everything in balance.
Exactly, yeah. Keeping
Yeah.
everything running. And we can't forget the role they play in activating vitamin D, which we need for our bones.
Right.
And then producing erythropoietin, that's the hormone that stimulates red blood cell production.
Right.
So, without healthy kidneys, we'd be in trouble.
Our bodies would really struggle.
Yeah, big time.
Right. So we've got a good overview of why kidneys are vital. But where are these amazing organs?
So they're located on either side of your spine,
Good.
just below your rib cage. They're protected by those lower ribs.
Okay.
Each kidney is about the size of your fist.
So pretty small, but doing a lot.
They are, yeah. To handle all that filtering and regulating, they receive a massive amount of blood flow.
Oh, wow.
About 20 to 25% of the heart's output.
Wow. So now I really want to dive into the heart of this filtering process, this kidney filtering process. And I know that's the nephron.
Okay.
So what exactly is a nephron?
Yeah.
And what makes it so special?
So the nephron is like the kidney's workhorse.
Okay.
This is where all the magic happens, all the filtering magic.
Okay.
There are about 1 million of these microscopic filtering machines.
Wait, 1 million in each kidney?
In each kidney.
That's mind-boggling.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Each nephron is like this tiny, intricate maze,
Okay.
carefully processing blood through these different sections.
Right.
So we start with the glomerulus. It moves through the proximal tubule, the loop of Henle,
Okay.
distal tubule, and finally the collecting duct.
That sounds complex. So what happens to the blood as it travels through this maze?
Well, first it gets ultrafiltered
Okay.
in the glomerulus, kind of like passing through a superfine sieve.
Okay.
Then, as it flows through those different parts of the nephron, essential substances like the water, the electrolytes, and the glucose get reabsorbed back into the bloodstream.
Oh, okay.
And the waste products, they're left behind to be excreted as urine.
So it's not just removing waste, it's also reclaiming the good stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
The kidneys are incredibly efficient at this recycling. Like nearly 99% of the fluid filtered by the glomerulus is actually reabsorbed.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So let's zoom in on that crucial part of the nephron, the glomerulus.
Okay.
What makes this initial filtering station so special?
So the glomerulus, this is a cluster of tiny blood vessels,
Okay.
and they're designed to filter blood based on both size and charge. It's kind of like imagine a sieve with different sized holes,
Okay.
allowing some things through while others are held back.
So it's like a bouncer at a club,
Yeah, exactly. That's a great analogy.
letting some molecules in and keeping others out.
Yeah, so smaller molecules like waste products, they can pass through easily.
Okay.
But larger proteins, which our bodies need, they're held back.
So what about these mesangial cells we read about?
Oh, yeah.
What role do they play?
Yeah, those are fascinating. So mesangial cells, these are within the glomerulus.
Okay.
They act like tiny muscles that can contract and relax. And they actually influence how much fluid is filtered.
Oh, wow.
So they help to fine-tune the whole filtration process.
It's amazing how, even at this microscopic level. There's all these intricate things working together.
I know. It really is incredible. And that brings us to another amazing feature of the kidneys, their ability to auto-regulate.
Autoregulation, what's that?
So think of it as like a built-in thermostat for your kidneys. It's their way of keeping the filtration rate steady, even when your blood pressure is fluctuating.
So even when we're exercising or feeling stressed, our kidneys can maintain a constant filtration rate.
Exactly, yeah. And it's thanks to this complex interplay of different factors.
This is where it starts to get complicated.
Well, yeah. I mean, it involves a few key players,
Okay.
like prostaglandins, the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system,
Okay.
and the juxtaglomerular apparatus.
Those are some big words.
Yeah, I know, right?
Maybe you could break it down a little.
Yeah, sure, of
Yeah.
course. So prostaglandins, these are like local messengers in the kidneys.
Okay.
When blood pressure drops, they signal the blood vessels leading to the glomerulus to widen,
Okay.
ensuring enough blood flow for filtration to continue.
So they're helping keep things flowing smoothly.
Exactly. Then we have the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, or RAAS.
RAS.
Yeah, we can call it RAAS for short.
Okay.
This is a hormonal system that kicks in when blood pressure or sodium levels are low. And it ultimately leads to the production of angiotensin II, which constricts blood vessels,
Okay.
increasing blood pressure.
So it's like a backup system that kicks in when things aren't quite right.
Yeah, precisely. And the juxtaglomerular apparatus, this is a group of cells
Okay.
that act as a sensor. They detect changes in blood pressure and sodium levels,
Okay.
triggering the appropriate response.
So it really is like a whole symphony of activity happening in our kidneys.
It really is, yeah. Just to keep everything balanced, keep everything running smoothly.
Wow.
Yeah.
But what happens when something disrupts this balance?
Yeah, that's when we can get into trouble.
That's when we start seeing problems with kidney function.
Yeah, you got it. So certain medications like NSAIDs,
Okay.
which a lot of people take for pain relief, they can actually interfere with prostaglandin production. So that can disrupt this delicate autoregulation process.
So even everyday medications can impact our kidneys.
Yeah. And then we have RAS inhibitors, which are often prescribed for high blood pressure. And they work by blocking parts of the RAS, which can be good, for controlling blood pressure,
Right.
but they need to be carefully monitored, especially in people that have existing kidney issues.
It's all about maintaining this equilibrium.
Exactly, yeah. It's all about balance. And we need to remember those tubules, those winding pathways within the nephron.
Right.
They're doing a lot more than just filtering.
Right. They're involved in reabsorbing all those good things, those essential substances, the water, the electrolytes.
Yeah.
What else are they up to?
So they're playing a big role in maintaining the acid-base balance in your body,
Okay.
making sure your blood pH stays in a healthy range.
Right.
And remember, we talked about vitamin D activation.
Right.
That happens in the tubules, too.
So they're like multitasking masters.
Yeah.
They filter, they reabsorb, they regulate, they even activate vitamins.
It's pretty incredible. And let's not forget erythropoietin,
Right.
the hormone that stimulates red blood cell production.
Yeah.
When those processes go awry, that's when we start to see complications, a whole host of complications associated with kidney disease.
So the tubules are really where a lot of the action is.
Yeah, they are.
All right. So we've talked about blood coming in
Right.
and the good stuff getting reabsorbed,
Yeah.
and we're left with this waste.
Right. The urine.
So where does the urine go?
That's a great question. So now we have to follow that urine as it makes its way out of the kidneys and out of the body, ultimately. So we've seen how those kidneys meticulously filter our blood
Right.
and create urine.
Yeah.
So now we can follow that urine as it makes its way out of the body.
So where does it go from the kidneys?
Well, from each kidney, urine travels down this narrow tube called a ureter.
Okay.
It's like a muscular highway about 10 to 12 inches long, guiding urine towards its next destination.
The bladder.
The bladder, exactly.
That's where things get a bit more familiar.
Right.
But what's interesting about the ureters themselves?
Yeah, they're not just passive tubes,
Right.
The ureters have these wave-like muscle contractions
Oh, okay.
called peristalsis that help to propel the urine downwards.
Like squeezing toothpaste out of a tube.
Exactly.
Okay.
And don't worry, there are valves where the ureters connect to the bladder, preventing any backflow. So urine's only going in one direction.
Out.
Out, exactly.
That's good to know. Now let's talk about the bladder. We all know it stores urine, but how much can it actually hold?
On average, a healthy bladder can hold, I think it's about 400 to 500 milliliters of urine,
Okay.
but that can vary from person to person.
That's pretty impressive. But we don't constantly feel our bladder filling up, right? So how do we know when it's time to go?
Well, our bodies are pretty smart, you
Yeah,
know?
I understand.
As the bladder fills and stretches, these special sensory receptors in the walls of the bladder,
Yeah.
they send signals to your brain alerting you to that feeling of fullness.
Uh-huh, so that's what that urge is.
Yeah, exactly.
But we don't just let loose whenever our bladder feels a bit full. Thankfully, we have control.
Thankfully, yeah, we
Yeah.
do. And that process of urination or voiding is actually a coordinated effort
Okay.
involving your brain, bladder muscles, and those sphincter muscles that control the flow of urine.
Okay, so break that down a bit. What are those sphincter muscles and how do they work?
Think of sphincter muscles as like gatekeepers.
Okay.
So there's an internal urethral sphincter that helps prevent leakage
Okay.
when your bladder's full, and that one works involuntarily. And then you have the external urethral sphincter, which you can consciously control
Oh, okay.
to start and stop the flow.
So when we decide it's time to go, our brain signals those sphincter muscles to relax,
Yeah,
and then the bladder muscles contract to push that urine out.
exactly. Yeah. It's really a fascinating process how our bodies manage this without us even having to think about it too much.
It is amazing. Now, I know we talked about how vital those kidneys are for filtering the waste products from our blood.
Right.
So what happens to those waste products once they're in the urine?
So that urine, now carrying those filtered waste products, it continues its journey from the bladder down the urethra, which is the final tube leading outside the body.
Okay.
So it's essentially the exit route.
For all those unwanted substances.
Exactly.
So to sum it up, the kidneys do the heavy lifting of filtration.
Right.
The ureters act like the transport system.
Right.
The bladder stores the urine, and the urethra provides that final pathway out.
Exactly.
It's amazing how seamlessly it all works together.
It really is, yeah. And while those basic processes are the same for everyone, there are some key differences
Oh, right.
between male and female anatomy.
Yes, that's right. And in our next segment, we'll delve into those distinctions and wrap up our deep dive into this fascinating world of kidneys and the urinary system.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome back. We've covered a lot of ground exploring how your kidneys filter waste, regulate your blood, and even activate vitamin D. But we've mainly been talking about the process in general terms.
Mm.
Now let's get a little more specific
Okay.
and talk about the differences between male and female urinary systems.
All right. So while those fundamental principles of kidney function are the same for everyone, there are some differences in how the urinary system is actually structured.
Right, so let's start with the urethra,
Okay.
that final tube that carries the urine out of the body. I know there's a difference in length between men and women.
Yeah, exactly. In females, the urethra is a lot shorter, only about 4 centimeters long.
Okay.
In males, it's much longer, around 20 centimeters.
That's quite a difference.
It is, yeah.
It seems like a small detail, but I'm guessing that has some important implications.
Yeah, it does. So unfortunately, that shorter urethra in females means that bacteria have a shorter distance to travel to reach the bladder,
Right.
which is why women are more prone to those urinary tract infections, UTIs.
That makes sense. Are there other anatomical differences we should be aware of? In the female urinary system, I mean.
Yeah. So the opening of the urethra in females is located within a space called the vestibule,
Okay.
which is between the labia minora.
Right.
Unlike in males, where the urethra is also involved in the reproductive system,
Okay.
in females, it's solely dedicated to carrying urine.
So they're completely separate in females.
Yeah.
That's an important distinction.
Mm.
All right, well, we've really explored the ins and outs of how our kidneys and urinary system work.
We have.
But now that we have all this knowledge, what can we do to keep these amazing organs healthy?
Well, that's a great question. One of the most important things is to stay hydrated.
Okay, yeah. Drinking plenty of water.
Drinking plenty of water helps your kidneys function at their best. Think of it as like flushing out your system. It makes it easier for your kidneys to remove those waste products.
So how much water should we be aiming for each day, I mean?
Well, the general recommendation is about 8 glasses a day. But every person's a little different, so your needs may vary.
Right.
Just listen to your body. And if you're thirsty, drink.
Besides hydration, what are some other lifestyle choices that can really benefit our kidneys?
So maintaining a healthy blood pressure is key. High blood pressure can damage the delicate blood vessels in your kidneys over time, so regular exercise,
Okay.
a balanced diet, low in sodium,
Right.
managing stress can all contribute to keeping your blood pressure in a healthy range.
What about diet? Are there certain foods that are particularly good or bad for our kidneys?
Well, a diet rich in fruits and vegetables
Okay.
and whole grains is beneficial for overall health, including your kidneys. It's also wise to limit processed foods,
Right.
sugary drinks, and too much protein because that can put extra strain on your kidneys.
It sounds like a lot of the same advice that we hear for overall health applies to kidney health as well.
Exactly. Taking care of your body as a whole is the best way to support your kidneys.
Good point.
And of course, if you have any underlying medical conditions like diabetes or hypertension, managing those effectively is crucial.
Right, absolutely. This deep dive into the kidneys and urinary system has been absolutely fascinating. It's really incredible how these organs work quietly in the background, filtering our blood, regulating fluids, and just keeping everything in balance.
It really is remarkable. And while we don't often think about them very much, it's clear that keeping our kidneys healthy is essential for our well-being.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through the marvels of the kidneys and urinary system. Until next time, stay curious and keep those kidneys healthy.